Everybody, it is Saturday morning. It is October the 5th. I'm WESH 2 First Warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together just about 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. And certainly the big weather story is Invest 92 in the kind of southwestern Gulf of Mexico. This is an area of low pressure that's going to want to develop. And more likely, this will become a tropical storm or hurricane. Brand new update from the National Hurricane Center saying there is a high likelihood, 70% chance that this becomes a tropical storm or hurricane later today or tomorrow, a 90% chance that over the next week's time or so, this becomes something. So, on Coffee Talk today, we're going into all the data you need so that you know what could happen here, what would happen for us locally, all of those pieces and parts, okay? So I just want to make sure we're all good on that. It's still too early to really get into nitty gritty, but I'm going to share all the model data that I can. All right. So first and foremost, let's just kind of get an idea of what's happening out there right now. We have not gotten any recon data. Hurricane Center put out a recon plan for this yesterday, discussing a recon mission this morning, but that kind of backed off, and it seemingly they just got the date wrong. So for now, the plan is that recon gets up tomorrow, and basically we see 3 recon missions. Okay, a tail Doppler radar mission in the morning, low-level invest for the C-130 Hercules, and then back to the Orion by 8 p.m. for another tail Doppler mission. All of that data then gets into the computer models. Speaking of computer models, here's the forecast of where the system should be developing. But what do the models show, right? All right, so let's get into that data here. Give me a second to find it. All right, so here's the latest spaghetti plots, as we call them, and you'll notice they're in a decent agreement. They're not super tight, but they're in a decent agreement. And what that means is that we've got an idea of where it's going. We just don't have the exacts. And certainly recon data will help with this. Putting that reconnaissance information into the computer models, letting more data be chewed on, and then, of course, spit out. But for now, confidence is growing that A, this develops, B, it wants to move toward Florida, and C, if it does so, it will impact Central Florida, which is where I'm broadcasting. And for those of you that are new, WESH 2 is a television station in Orlando, Central Florida. So we're really catering this to Central Florida impacts, but obviously we're going to deal with the storm on a broader scope as well. So based on that, computer models are showing a kind of a southwest to south central impact. In terms of intensity models, they are now wanting to go to hurricane status. Wednesday, right about it to landfall, bringing it to about a Category 1, Category 2 storm. It'll be interesting to see, though, if this tries to undergo tropical cyclogenesis perhaps a little bit quicker, how that works. Okay, so based on that, just based on where we're at right now, I want to go over our storm prep timeline. This is a graphic that we put together a couple of years ago, and I love it because it gives you an idea of where we'll be in terms of impact confidence, and based on that, what we should be doing. Okay, so this weekend, for starters, it's early. Let's just track. Let's just watch and let's see if it develops. Let's see where it's going to want to develop. And let's see, once it gets its sea legs, how much it's going to want to develop. Does it want to become a tropical storm pretty quickly? Does it want to become a hurricane pretty quickly? Different models are showing different solutions there. And that's why it's just too early to start doing much. But by Monday, as we get all of that recon data from Sunday's missions into the models on Monday, I think we'll start to be at a position where if it looks like we're going to get a hurricane, we may need to start doing some prep. Okay? Medium confidence. Then on Tuesday, the confidence is going to be pretty high and the thing's going to be knocking on our doorstep. High confidence, if it looks like it's still a threat for us, then we need to finalize our prep. And then, of course, Wednesday, I've got the tropical storm icon. It could be a hurricane. It could be nothing. But that's a timeline. And I'm going to treat this like I do our own internal coverage and the way our management at WESH handles our internal coverage, which is it's easier to lay out a timeline and back off. It's not as easy to kind of play catch up. And so that's why I wanted to discuss this and go over like a prep timeline. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. So pattern turns wet tomorrow, but it's going to be about Wednesday that we get something. So let's discuss this on the computer models, okay? And I'm just going to use I'm going to start with just for a broad stroke here, I'm going to start with the GFS model and we'll get into the nitty gritties, but this is more to just kind of give you an idea for like rain and all of that fun stuff, okay? So here we are tomorrow. This is a picture of 7 a.m. Moisture over Florida. There's already some energy moving our direction, okay? Watch through time here. Rainy Sunday. A little piece of energy starts developing Sunday into Monday and kind of tracks over South Florida. Okay. At the same time, there's a front to our north that's sliding down. And thankfully for our friends in the Carolinas, it basically says nothing is coming here. Not great for us, but the Carolinas, my God, do they need a break? So, what ends up being is the first piece of energy over South Florida on Monday brings the entire peninsula some rain. But while that's happening, look in the Gulf of Mexico, right? There's that second piece of energy that's going to be ramping up. And then into Tuesday, we start to get a better idea of exactly how much that ramp up happens. And then, of course, from there, if it becomes a tropical storm, if it becomes a hurricane, its interaction with this cold front will be everything in terms of where this makes landfall. But that's Wednesday, kind of midday, and then clearing out of our area by Thursday morning. Okay, so that's kind of the broad idea of where we're at right now. So to give you just kind of a forest through the trees synopsis of things, okay, we're watching run to run models. We're watching its development. Okay. The timing Tuesday into Wednesday, and we're fine tuning this. But I think the impact tab is what we need to be discussing the most, which is either way, flooding rain is a concern. If this develops, then we get into the concern of gusty winds and, of course, the severe potential. Okay. Before I go much deeper, and we can look at all the raw model data until we're blue in the face, let me pause and just kind of see where there's a ton of comments and I haven't read like a single one of them. And so to that point, I apologize. I'll check some of the comments now. All right. Crystal, I still don't see why these storms always come at night. I mean, it's going, the problem is you only have so many hours of daylight. So there's that. Brandon says, well, there goes my cruise out of Tampa Thursday. I would suspect Thursday it's clearing, but I don't know that things are going to be necessarily open for business. So I wouldn't hold your breath. And I will share with you that even my boss had to cancel her trip, you know? So there's that. All right. So yeah, unfortunately, vacations are going to be impacted should this play out the way the models are trying to show. Okay. All right. So based on just the kind of overall data, here's our rain comparison between the American GFS and the European models. All right. Both models are showing half a foot to a foot of rain next week over the course of the week. Not a single day. I mean, there could be in a single day, but it's kind of a broad event. So there's a lot of rain in the forecast. This is where we start to talk about the raw model data. All right. So if you're new to Coffee Talk, we do a deep dive on the models, and in a situation like this, unfortunately, it's going to be impacting us. So this is the raw GFS. This is the 6Z GFS, and it's developing a low today. Deepens that low, and I don't love this, but you know, there it is. Gulf of Mexico. I'll just bring it a little closer. That is a, what is that? That is a 956 millibar low, 955 millibar low, 954. So a 954 millibar low. That's a borderline Cat 2/Cat 3. That's a strong hurricane coming ashore somewhere in the Nature Coast. If we talk about winds, I'll just switch over to wind and we'll do gusts. Yeah, I mean, that's 114, that's 114, 115 miles per hour there. Coming ashore, that would put hurricane force winds into Central Florida. That would be, and I'm just going to be honest with you, that would be a very, 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 very bad scenario for Tampa Bay for storm surge across the west coast of Florida. So we don't like that GFS run. Let's go back a run to the 00Z. It's not much different. That's winds, that's 96-mile-an-hour winds, 99-mile-an-hour winds. So the GFS actually got stronger, and it did tweak a little further to the north. All right. So there's, again, don't love that. Let's go back a run to the 18Z GFS. Big difference, right? Big difference. It was much weaker. There was nothing. And I think that consistency breeds confidence. Let's go to the 12Z GFS. It had like a strong tropical storm, but it had a tropical storm. All right. So you have a strong tropical storm yesterday morning, a nothing yesterday afternoon, and then last night into this morning, you've got a hurricane slash even a major hurricane. So trends are your friends. I do not like the trend I'm seeing on the GFS. And if you're new around town, I'll just tell you, I'm not hyping. I'm showing you data. I'm probably the last person that likes hype. So I'm showing this to you just to share the information and to give some perspective. Trends are your friends. The trend is not good. The trend is showing a stronger storm and definitely an impact for us. So, based on the GFS, when would that impact be? Probably getting into tropical storm force winds. That's 8 a.m. Wednesday. Starting to see tropical storm force winds in our area, and then clearing the tropical storm force winds by about midday, early afternoon on Thursday. The models seemingly have slowed things down just a little bit. All right, so that's the GFS. Let's switch over and look at the European. All right. 60 euro only goes out 90 hours, so it doesn't go out terribly far. All right. But there we are starting to develop tropical storm. And look at that. The new euro is getting to hurricane intensity. Maximum winds on that picture, 80 miles an hour. And the same time frame, the GFS was at 104. So the GFS is stronger than the euro, 104 on the GFS, 80 miles an hour on the euro. But if I go back one euro run, it was 69 miles an hour. So the euro is definitely stronger. And yeah. So that's the euro. All right, let's look at the Canadian model. This is the 0Z Canadian. All right. Developing. When does it develop the tropical storm? That's tomorrow afternoon. That's a hurricane. It puts a category 1 hurricane into like southwest Florida. But look at the difference in time. That's Friday at 11 a.m. So the Canadian is much slower. Icon model. All right. Developing into a tropical storm by Monday. So the icon is also slower. And it's weaker. It brings it to strong tropical storm, maybe trying to get to hurricane intensity, but doesn't get there. So the icon is much weaker. I'm curious, go back a model run on the icon, and the icon was about the same. Yeah. All right. All right. The tropical models. Oof, I'm always afraid to show these, but here we go. All right. This is the HAFS-A. So there are two of these models. The Hurricane Analysis and Forecast System, HAFS. Here's the HAFS-A. Tropical storm by later this afternoon into this evening. That's a hurricane. Getting close to major hurricane status. That's winds of about yeah, I mean that's a major hurricane. Jesus. 140 mile per hour winds, gusts, and then weakening. a little bit at landfall, but that's still a very, very, very bad scenario for Tampa Bay. That would be a landfall of 11 a.m. on Wednesday. So that's the HAFS-A model. Let's look at the HAFS-B model. Not much different here. The B is a little weaker. Category 1/Category 2, borderline Category 3. But you're starting to see the trends here, right? You're starting to see computer models showing a hurricane impacting our area more than likely around midweek. So to that point, I hope what we're looking at here helps you understand we're going to need to be very dialed into the weather. All right, let's look at the European AI model. Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, the European AI model, tropical storm. So it's much weaker, which is fine. I have no desire to do anything other than that. All right, ensemble plots. Gulf of Mexico. This is the individual low locations, 997. So the GFS is showing a hurricane, but it's not going, ball bonker like Cat 3. I mean, some ensemble members are a little stronger, but there's a high consistency of ensemble members that are trying to show obviously a tropical storm or a hurricane, more than likely a hurricane. European ensembles. See, the European members look deeper. The European wants this to be a bit stronger. All right. So I think that at this point in time, okay, I think at this point in time where I'm at with this is that I think that the confidence is growing that we're going to have some sort of a tropical system impacting us. All right. I think the Hurricane Center absolutely has dialed in on that as well. That will probably have a tropical storm or a hurricane. It'll impact you and I in Central Florida. How strong does it get? It's a little too early to tell there. But unfortunately for us, this is going to be something we have to deal with. Okay. So that's where we're at right now. Okay. So in terms of planning, let's take a look at the 7-day forecast together. All right. Today is a beautiful day. Enjoy it. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, but don't do anything crazy. Tomorrow, rain chances are really going to go up. Tomorrow's not a thing. All right. We don't have to do anything crazy tomorrow either. Tomorrow, normal day in terms of like activity. It's going to be a crummy weather day. Monday, crummy weather day. Tuesday into Wednesday, and we'll have to fine tune exact timing. Tuesday into Wednesday is when we would have tropical trouble. All right. So again, the prep timeline tells us that this weekend, low confidence in exact impacts, so just track. Monday, as the confidence begins to grow, that's when we would need to, like, all right, what do I need to do around my house? Do I need to pull in chairs? That sort of thing. And then, yeah, on Tuesday, with a high confidence of what it would do for us, that's when we finalize the prep. And then, more than likely, we're looking at the storm impacting us on Wednesday. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. All right, now and I appreciate the over 3,000 of you that are joining this morning. I went through my diatribe. Now we can sit back and chat. Okay. All right. Patty, is this like Hurricane Wilma? This is going to be very different than Hurricane Wilma, but in some cases, like a front steered Wilma all those years ago. So there are pieces of it that could be similar. Exact location for landfall will be determined. And because of that, we can't get into the like, is this going to be like this? Is this going to be like that? It's a little too early for that. Yeah. Forget about it on YouTube. Is Palm Bay in the path? I would say at the moment, the state of Florida needs to be watching. We're all in the path-ish. Jeffrey on Facebook says, I'm a new Floridian. We couldn't possibly get hit with another hurricane this season. Me. Let me tell you about 2004. Yeah. 2004, there were 4 storms that impacted it was I had started in TV weather in 2001. '04 was like the year that I still can never forget. I certainly don't want this year to be like that, but here we are just a couple of weeks after Helene having to deal with another system. So, yeah, storms can hit back to back to back. Just a couple of years ago, we had Ian and Nicole. So, here we are. By the way, if this were to take a name, which the confidence is growing that that will happen, the next name on the list is Milton. What a docile sounding name, at least for that, right? Yeah. Um, what time on Wednesday? No. The answer is no. We cannot get into that specificity just yet. The confidence on this entire forecast is still low. We'll get there, but for now, the confidence on this is still low. I mean, just to give you an idea, our own futurecast model doesn't go out that far because it's we're way out. Now I'll show you our futurecast model. I would say I think that it's actually done a really good job over the last few storms. And what I don't love is that our futurecast model wants to really blow this thing up to a major hurricane and quickly. So that gives you an idea. There's Tuesday, 1 a.m. It's already like a major hurricane. So I don't love that. Our futurecast model's 0Z run, almost identical. Blew it up into like a major hurricane by Monday afternoon. So yeah. We're working out the details here. But I would say, how much time do I have for this one, Ernesto? All right. I need to look. Bear with me. I need to look out. Let me find another question we can chat, and then I can. Let's see here. Your forecast for what? Oh, we'll talk about my forecast later. That's not a thing. These storms are not natural. Geoengineering. I can assure you, we're not geoengineering anything. Hurricanes are actually very natural. This may not be like a typical angle of attack, but I can assure you, hurricanes are very much a part of the needed atmosphere. It's a release of energy atmospherically. I don't love them. I know y'all don't love them, but I can also assure you I'm not setting it up just for fun. All right. Let me do that. Let me do that. I'm just putting together my show here. All right. Next question. Kathy's asking about St. Petersburg. If I lived in St. Petersburg, I would absolutely be watching this closely. Problem is, St. Petersburg was so heavily impacted by Helene's storm surge that yeah, I'm concerned of a direct impact to the Tampa Bay area. I'm concerned about an impact in the Orlando area. So yeah, if I lived in those areas, I would absolutely be watching. Let's see here. Do you think the storm will impact St. Augustine next weekend? It'll be gone by next weekend. Does it impact St. Augustine? There's definitely the possibility of impact. All right. Let's see here. Too many comments for my question. How long will this last, Junior? Sorry. Yeah, too many questions. And I'm gonna have to run here in a couple of seconds to do TV. This looks like a kind of a Tuesday to Thursday event. We have to fine-tune impacts and timing and all that. Okay. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. All right. Sea surface temperatures plenty hot for tropical development. Absolutely. Okay. Thoughts for Southwest Florida? My thoughts are the same for Southwest Florida as they are for any part of Florida, which is we need to watch this. Too early to make certain determinations. Okay. Lonnie's asking what models have been most accurate this year. They all have wins and they all have losses. I would say, they all do. I'm not going to isolate any one model. They're all fairly in agreement with a Florida West Coast landfall. Some are a little more like Nature Coast, some are a little more Southwest Florida. So that's the area that we have to watch. Okay. Lisette's asking if Kissimmee will be impacted. It's a possibility. Yeah. I think the entire peninsula. I even put it on my graphic. I took the time to type it. Florida needs to watch it closely. Not one area, not one city, the entirety of Florida needs to watch it. Okay. So that's where we're at, people. I've got to go run and do TV. We start a cut in here in about 15 seconds, and I've got to go do that. I'll be posting through the day, okay? Hurricane Center did say more than likely this will become a tropical depression or a tropical storm today or tomorrow. When that happens, I'll have the data for you, okay? In the meantime, be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you all for hanging out for Coffee Talk. We'll be doing updates through the next couple of days for sure.